It was Sunday, November 29th, 1970. In the rugged, desolate landscape of Isdalen, a remote valley on the outskirts of Bergen, Norway, the air hung heavy with the damp chill of late autumn. Known grimly as Death Valley by locals, the area had a somber history of suicides, its steep, rocky slopes and foreboding atmosphere seemingly designed to swallow secrets whole. It was a place of stark beauty, yet an undeniable sense of isolation permeated its silent pine forests and exposed rock faces. Two young hikers, a father and his two daughters, were exploring the valley, enjoying a peaceful day outdoors. Their tranquility shattered when their eyes landed on something horribly out of place amidst the rocks and sparse undergrowth. What they stumbled upon was a scene of such disturbing peculiarity that it would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Lying amidst the cold, unyielding rocks was the body of a woman. She was partially burned, her posture unsettlingly unnatural. Her clothes, though high-end and stylish, were a grim canvas of char and soot. But even in death, the immediate anomalies screamed at the observers. All the labels on her clothing had been meticulously cut off. It was a deliberate act of erasure, a chilling detail that defied any natural explanation. Scattered around her, as if left by some macabre ritual, were various strange items: a bottle of St. Halvard liqueur, a Norwegian brand that seemed out of place for a foreign visitor, two plastic bottles reeking faintly of gasoline, a handful of sleeping pills, and a fur hat. Yet for all these scattered possessions, the most glaring absence was any form of personal identification. No wallet, no purse, no passport, no money, no jewelry. It was as if she had arrived or been placed there, stripped of every means to reveal who she was. When the police arrived, summoned by the horrified hikers, they were immediately struck by the sheer strangeness of the scene. This was no typical suicide. It didn't look like an accident. It felt orchestrated, staged, designed to eliminate identity. The profound anonymity of the victim became the first, most powerful piece of a puzzle that would baffle investigators for decades. The discovery in Isdalen plunged Norwegian police into an investigation unlike any they had encountered. Their immediate priority was simple, yet seemingly impossible: identify the victim. They launched a full-scale effort, issuing public appeals and meticulously sifting through missing persons reports from across Norway and beyond. But leads were scarce. The woman was, to all intents and purposes, a ghost. Then, days later, a crucial break emerged, almost by chance. A station master at the Bergen train station recalled a distinctive woman who had left two large suitcases in a locker and hadn't returned for them. Her description perfectly matched that of the deceased woman. A wave of grim anticipation washed over the investigators. These suitcases, they hoped, would hold the key to her identity. What they found inside the luggage, however, only deepened the mystery, transforming it from a simple identification case into a labyrinthine web of deception. The suitcases contained an extensive, high-quality wardrobe, elegant suits, dresses, and coats, but just like the clothing on the body, every single label had been meticulously cut off or removed. It was an obsessive act of erasure, a clear indication that this woman was deliberately hiding who she was. Adding to the intrigue were numerous different wigs, suggesting a systematic effort to alter her appearance. The suitcases also held large sums of European currency from various countries: Norwegian kroner, Swiss francs, Belgian francs, British pounds, indicating extensive travel. Other items included stylish sunglasses and a travel calendar. But crucially, mirroring the scene in Isdalen, there was no passport, no ID, no address book, no personal letters, nothing that could provide a definitive link to her true name or past. Every potential identifier had been ruthlessly eliminated. The only true lead, a fragile thread in this tangled yarn, was a single, unburnt prescription pad for Ibilgishan sleeping pills found among her effects. It was for a Dr. Stoltz. This was the first concrete name in the entire bewildering case, a flicker of light in the overwhelming darkness of her anonymity. Meanwhile, forensic examination of the body proceeded. The autopsy revealed a severe blow to her neck, possibly from a fall or blunt force, but it wasn't immediately fatal. More disturbingly, high levels of sleeping pills were found in her system, suggesting she had been heavily drugged. And critically, soot was present in her lungs, indicating that she was alive, perhaps unconscious, when the fire that consumed her began. Her fingerprints were taken, Her unique dental records meticulously charted, and her distinctive facial structure, particularly a prominent Roman nose, was noted for later reconstruction attempts. The meticulous deception woven through her belongings and her very death pointed to an undeniable conclusion for investigators. This was no ordinary victim. This was someone deliberately trying to hide her identity, someone on the run, or more chillingly, someone deeply embroiled in covert activities. The Dr. Stoltz lead, the only concrete name found, quickly proved to be a dead end. Dr. Stoltz was a fictitious name, a common pseudonym used by Norwegian doctors to protect their identity, or simply a deliberate misdirection. The single flicker of light faded, plunging the investigation back into the frustrating darkness of anonymity. Undeterred, police embarked on a painstaking and meticulous effort to reconstruct the woman's movements, relying on the few remaining clues: hotel registers, train tickets, and the often vague recollections of witnesses. Slowly, a fragmented and bewildering picture of her travels began to emerge. She had traveled extensively across Norway, and likely through other parts of Europe, in the weeks leading up to her death. What was startling was that she had registered under at least 9 different aliases at various hotels. Names like Fenella Lorch, Genevieve Lancière, Claudia Tielt, and Vera Schloss appeared on hotel cards, each as fictitious and unidentifiable as the last. She consistently claimed to be a traveling antique dealer or salesperson, a convenient cover for her constant movement. Witnesses consistently noted that she spoke several languages fluently: German, English, and French, indicating a sophisticated background. Witness accounts from the various hotels she frequented painted an increasingly bizarre and unsettling portrait. She was described as aloof, actively avoiding speaking to other guests or engaging in conversation. She often changed rooms within the same hotel, sometimes multiple times, a highly unusual behavior for a casual tourist. At one hotel, she left a "Do Not Disturb" sign on her door for an unusually extended period, suggesting she either wasn't in the room or didn't want anyone to know she was. At the Hotel Hordeheimen in Bergen, her last known stop, she seemed nervous, exchanging rooms again. A porter overheard her speaking German to a man in her room, hinting at a male companion. At another point, she was observed speaking intently to a man at a public telephone booth. At one hotel, she specifically requested a room that overlooked the entrance, a detail that immediately raised suspicion. Was she seeking a vantage point for surveillance, or watching for someone herself? Investigators also noted her peculiar handwriting, distinctively large, rounded, and almost childlike, yet strikingly consistent across all the aliases she used. This became a unique, albeit ultimately untraceable, signature of her hidden life. The repeated mention of a male companion, or multiple men, with whom she seemed associated, began to raise the chilling specter of a network, not just a lone individual. This was not the behavior of a woman on a simple holiday. It pointed unmistakably towards something far more sinister: espionage. It was 1970, the height of the Cold War. Norway, as a NATO member sharing a border with the Soviet Union, was a vital strategic point, a hotbed for intelligence activities, both overt and covert. This historical backdrop lent immense credence to the spy theory. The Isdal woman, with her multiple identities, linguistic skills, careful anonymity, and secretive movements, fit the profile of an intelligence operative perfectly. But for whom was she working, and what was her mission? As the investigation broadened, the spy theory began to coalesce, drawing together the disparate threads of the Isdal woman's phantom existence. Her movements, particularly in the weeks leading up to her death, took on a chilling new significance within the context of Cold War intelligence. One particularly compelling detail emerged. She had recently visited Stavanger, Norway, a port city that was, at the time, the site of a new, top-secret Sea Sparrow missile test. This was a cutting-edge NATO defense project, of immense interest to Soviet intelligence. Her presence in Stavanger, coinciding with such a sensitive military operation, immediately suggested a connection to industrial or military espionage. Was she gathering intelligence? Or was she perhaps a counterintelligence agent? Adding another layer to the enigma, it was discovered that she had also recently traveled to Italy, a country where a number of suspicious deaths of foreign intelligence agents had recently occurred. Was she connected to a wider web of international intrigue, moving through the dangerous shadows of the global spy game? Investigators began to speculate about a possible safe house or a prearranged meeting point in Bergen, perhaps even within the secluded Isdalen Valley itself. Was she to rendezvous with her contacts, exchange information, or dispose of sensitive materials? The meticulous planning, evident in her aliases and her discreet movements, suggested that her presence in Norway was far from casual. The circumstances of her death in Isdalen became the most perplexing and chilling piece of the puzzle. The presence of sleeping pills and gasoline suggested either a meticulously planned suicide or a horrifying execution designed to obliterate her identity. If she took the pills herself, was it part of a suicide pact or a desperate act to burn away any evidence of her true self? If she was drugged, then someone else set her on fire to destroy evidence. The severe blow to her neck, was it an accident during a struggle or a deliberate incapacitation before the fire was lit? The precise cutting of all labels from her clothing and belongings was a hallmark of intelligence operatives destroying identifiable information, almost a textbook procedure. The lack of any signs of struggle around her body pointed to several grim possibilities. She was already incapacitated by the pills. She went willingly to her death, perhaps under duress or as part of a pact, or her killer was incredibly efficient. A particularly bizarre and never explained detail was the faint smell of garlic on her body, detected by forensic examiners. Was it a last meal or something more symbolic, a final unidentifiable clue? The overwhelming feeling for those who studied the case was that the Isdal woman was not alone. There was an unseen hand at play, a handler, a team, or an entire organization that either orchestrated her death, ensured her silence, or perhaps failed to protect her. Her story transformed into a chilling glimpse into the faceless, ruthless world of Cold War espionage, where human lives were pawns in a much larger global game. Was she a defector, a double agent exposed, or simply someone who knew too much? Was she silenced because her mission failed, or because it succeeded too well? The truth remained buried, swallowed by the cold, dark earth of Isdalen. The official conclusion delivered by Norwegian police was that the Isdal woman likely committed suicide, possibly due to a mental breakdown, and then set herself on fire to ensure death and destroy evidence. This explanation, however, has never satisfied the public, the media, or many of the investigators who worked on the case. The meticulous cutting of labels, the string of false identities, the extensive international travel, the calculated discretion, none of it screamed suicidal woman. It screamed professional. Despite international appeals, forensic reconstructions of her distinctive Roman nose and facial features, and constant reevaluations of the evidence, her true identity has never been established. Her fingerprints were never matched to any database worldwide, nor were her unique dental records. She remains officially and hauntingly the Isdal woman. Her unmarked grave in Bergen stands as a permanent, chilling monument to a secret that the wilderness and perhaps powerful organizations have refused to reveal. In recent years, advancements in forensic science have brought renewed, albeit fleeting, hope to the cold case. In 2016, a new investigation utilizing sophisticated DNA profiling and isotope analysis, which can determine where a person grew up based on chemical signatures in their teeth, yielded tantalizing insights. Her DNA was confirmed to be of European origin, possibly Eastern or Central European. Isotope analysis of her teeth suggested she likely grew up in Eastern or Central Europe, perhaps in a former communist bloc country. This region was a hotbed of espionage activity during the Cold War. The analysis further indicated that she had likely moved to Western Europe later in her life. These findings only served to deepen the espionage theory. The woman from Isdalen was likely a product of the Cold War, a skilled operative whose life was a carefully constructed deception and whose death was an equally orchestrated act of obliteration. The case of the Isdal woman is still officially open. Every few years, new theories or analyses emerge, keeping the mystery alive in public consciousness. She has become an almost mythical figure in modern true crime, a ghostly presence from the Cold War era, a silent testament to the hidden battles fought in the shadows. The story concludes with the enduring, chilling question: who was the Isdal woman? What was her true mission? And what secret was so deadly, so vital, that she had to be silenced, or chose to disappear herself, in such a brutal, anonymous fashion in Norway's Death Valley? The terror of the Isdal woman isn't just in her death, it's in her complete, profound, and orchestrated disappearance from identity itself. It's the ultimate secret, buried not in a coffin, but in the unforgiving embrace of time and the chilling silence of those who may still know the truth. Her enigma whispers through the decades, a haunting echo of Europe's deepest secret.